Okay, so what if I told you there's a multi-million-dollar global market for something you might not even think twice about, but it actually offers these incredible insights into cultural shifts and, global tastes. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the surprisingly fascinating world of the global Chopsticks Racks Market. Yeah, really, we're pulling insights from this really comprehensive market outlook report. It spans from 2021 all the way out to 2033. And it's packed with numbers, yeah, but maybe more importantly, with some really intriguing trends. So, our mission really is to unpack what drives this, it seems like a niche market, right? But also explore the surprising regional differences and understand what this humble item tells us about how interconnected our world is becoming. Okay, let's get into it.
What's truly fascinating here, I think, is how a simple dining accessory, like a chopsticks rack, can serve as this kind of surprising proxy for much broader shifts. We're talking global dining habits, the remarkable acceleration of cultural exchange across continents. It's quite something.
Right. So first off, let's look at the big picture globally. This market, which might seem insignificant at first glance, was valued at around $326 million back in 2021. And get this, it's projected to stay at that exact same level in 2025. So pretty flat for a bit, but then it's set for a really substantial climb, like almost a 50% increase.
That's exactly right. So after that brief plateau, the projection shows significant growth. It's heading towards over $485 million by 2033. And that means a compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of about 5.1%.
Okay.
Now, this moderate but, pretty steady expansion isn't just about people needing a place to put their chopsticks. It really reflects a rising global interest in, enhancing the entire dining experience, moving beyond just utility.
Okay, so if it's more than just a functional item, what is this steady climb for such a specific thing? What does it really signify about, our changing world?
Well, I think it signals a deepening of cultural appreciation that goes beyond just the food itself. People aren't just eating Asian food more often. They're actually embracing the tools, the rituals that go with it. They're integrating them into their daily lives, into their home aesthetics. So this shift is really about cultural adoption on a more intimate sort of household level.
Right. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Asia Pacific. It holds the lion's share of this market, no question. We're talking about a market that starts at over $217 million in 2021. It dips slightly, yeah, but then rebounds strongly to almost $320 million by 2033. It's clearly the cultural heartbeat. But beyond the obvious reasons, what are maybe the subtle dynamics driving that kind of dominance?
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's not just the deep-rooted cultural habits, although those are, fundamentals.
Bigger.
It's also about the sheer volume and the frequency of chopstick use. That makes the accessory almost a daily necessity for millions. And this is interesting, within this dominance, you see these fascinating micro trends. You see countries sort of evolving their demands based on economic development and how they view household goods in general.
Okay, let's zoom in on some of those diverse stories within Asia Pacific then. China, for instance, it remains the largest market, poised to grow to over $127 million by 2033. And the report suggests this growth isn't just about volume, but there's this noticeable shift towards premium homeware. Are we talking designer racks or?
Oh, absolutely. Think about the rise of, aesthetic living spaces.
Yeah.
Even smart home integration to some extent. For China, it seems it's about chopstick racks becoming these little pieces of design. They reflect personal style, kitchen decor, often crafted from maybe higher-end materials or incorporating modern, sleek features. It's definitely a sign of a maturing consumer market that values form just as much as function.
Huh. And then you've got Japan. You described it as a picture of remarkable stability, projected to hit over $60 million by 2033. What does that tell us, their approach?
Well, Japan's market is really a testament to tradition meeting innovation, I'd say. They might not show that kind of explosive growth, but their stability indicates this really consistent demand for well-designed, durable household goods. And often they blend traditional aesthetics with, clever, sometimes space-saving designs. It's less about new adoption, perhaps, and more about just a sustained cultural practice being refined.
Okay. Now, India, that's a completely different story, isn't it? It shows really promising, explosive growth feels like the right word. Revenue's projected to nearly double to $36 million by 2033. What on earth is driving that kind of surge?
India's growth it's a fantastic case study in rapid cultural integration. It seems to be driven by increasing exposure to Asian cuisines.
Yeah.
often popularized by things like food delivery apps, the explosion of cooking shows featuring international dishes, and of course the pervasive influence of social media trends showcasing modern kitchen aesthetics. Urban households there are modernizing really quickly, and with that comes an embrace of tools from all sorts of diverse culinary traditions.
Wow, it's fascinating just seeing those varied trajectories side by side. South Korea, for its part, sees some fluctuation, but is expected to recover strongly, hitting $23 million by 2033. Australia, right, with its rich multicultural tapestry, that's projected for a strong climb too.
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai.
Australia, right, with its rich multicultural tapestry, that's projected for a strong climb too, over $27 million, clearly driven by those multicultural dining trends you mentioned. And then you have Southeast Asia, described as a dynamic subregion, moving towards $32 million by 2033. Reflecting, I guess, rapid urbanization and the popularity of compact kitchen accessories.
Exactly. It really highlights how these individual market nuances
Yeah.
within Asia Pacific, from China's premium segment to India's rapid growth from culinary exposure, they reflect fundamentally different stages of cultural integration and economic development.
Yeah, different paths.
Indeed. It's a whole spectrum, isn't it? From deeply ingrained cultural necessity to this, like enthusiastic adoption driven by a newfound culinary curiosity.
Okay, so moving across the globe now, let's talk North America. The Chopsticks Racks Market here, while yes, smaller than Asia Pacific, is still pretty significant. Projected to grow to over $75 million by 2033. What's fueling this embrace of Asian culinary tools and what's, traditionally been a Western dining landscape?
Well, the United States is the largest contributor here, forecasted to reach over $60 million by 2033. And this growth is largely supported by the booming Asian restaurant industry. That introduces chopstick use to a much wider audience. But I think the real story, the deeper one, is the increasing household adoption. It indicates that people aren't just eating out, they're cooking Asian cuisines at home more. And they're starting to view chopsticks and their accessories as, essential kitchenware, not just a novelty.
Right, integrating it. And how do Canada and Mexico fit into this North American picture?
Canada seems to maintain pretty steady demand, reflecting a consistent, if not, explosive interest. Mexico, though, shows really remarkable growth. It's projected to reach over $7 million by 2033. And this truly indicates how a rising interest in diverse culinary experiences, particularly Asian food, is becoming a strong market driver there. It suggests a broader cultural curiosity is really taking hold.
Interesting. Okay, next, let's explore Europe. That region generated over $17 million back in 2021 and is expected to rise to over $27 million by 2033. What's driving growth there? Is it purely the food or is there something else at play?
Here, it's actually a pretty compelling blend, I think. It's certainly driven by the growing adoption of international cuisine, yes. But crucially, it's also tied to this rising demand for sustainable kitchen products. You see, European consumers are increasingly seeking reusable dining tools, and a stylish, durable chopstick rack fits perfectly into that kind of eco-conscious ethos.
That's
So it's partly about a broader consumer shift towards reusability and maybe more thoughtful consumption.
a great insight. What specific examples stand out in Europe then?
Well, Germany leads, with sales projected to grow to over $6 million by 2033. It showcases a strong, stable market. The United Kingdom follows pretty closely, reflecting that steady shift toward reusable dining tools we just talked about. But the real surprise, maybe, as you alluded to, is Italy.
Yeah.
It actually shows the highest growth rate in Europe, projected to basically double, hitting $3 million by 2033.
Wow.
Which is truly remarkable, yeah. It seems the fusion cuisine culture is gaining significant traction there, blending, traditional Italian culinary prowess with global flavors.
That's fascinating.
And France shows similar momentum. Russia remained relatively flat, the report notes, and Spain moves steadily. Even smaller markets like Luxembourg saw niche market expansion, increasing to over $1.1 million. It just proves that even small segments contribute significantly to the bigger picture.
That Italian surge is really fascinating, a clear sign of tastes truly broadening out. Now, let's turn our attention to regions where perhaps the adoption of chopsticks might be more recent or still, emerging.
Absolutely. Let's look at South America, for instance. It shows gradual, but pretty consistent adoption of chopstick accessories. Brazil leads the pack there, projected to reach over $13 million by 2033. And countries like Argentina, Colombia, Peru, Chile, they all seem to follow a similar upward trajectory. So this isn't just about one country's trend. It really reflects a kind of region-wide growth, supported by that rising influence of Asian culinary traditions.
Right, spreading across the continent. And what about the Middle East and Africa? Is that market like truly on the cusp of something bigger?
This region is certainly emerging as a potential market, yes. While Egypt seems to maintain stable revenue, Turkey really stands out with steady demand. It's projected to grow to over $7 million by 2033.
Okay.
And this seems largely influenced by a growing interest in fusion cuisine and also the desire for more modern, diverse dining setups in homes. The rest of the Middle East also saw rising demand, which points toward increased regional exposure to Asian dining norms overall. It's definitely an exciting frontier for this humble item.
So, okay, if we step back from all these fascinating numbers and regional stories, what does this all truly mean for us, the listeners? It's clearly not just about where people put their chopsticks, right?
Exactly right. This comprehensive growth across, well, pretty much all global markets is driven by this confluence of really fascinating overarching trends. You've got the profound impact of cultural exchange, the rapid globalization of food habits that just transcends borders now, and also a rising consumer interest in both aesthetic and functional kitchen utilities. People want things that look good and work well. This seemingly niche market, it truly highlights how interconnected our world has become, where a simple dining accessory can literally trace the path of cultural adoption and evolving consumer preferences. It's really about people bringing new cultures right into their homes, one meal at a time.
Yeah, it's truly a perfect example of how diving deep into one specific, maybe overlooked area can reveal these huge, unexpected insights about the world around us. It's not just the numbers, it's definitely the stories behind them. It is truly remarkable, isn't it? How a simple item like a chopsticks rack can tell such a compelling story about global cultural exchange and shifting consumer preferences. From its traditional strongholds to these burgeoning new markets, it's really a testament to how our tastes and indeed our homes are evolving globally.
Indeed, it really underscores that even the most, unassuming products can offer this fascinating and surprisingly rich lens through which to understand these big macroeconomic and cultural shifts. It kind of makes you wonder what else we might be overlooking, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So what stands out to YUU from this deep dive into the Chopsticks Racks Market? And maybe as you think about this, what other seemingly smaller niche markets might reveal similar aha moments about the incredible pace of globalization and cultural adoption in our world today? What everyday item might just be a hidden indicator of massive global shifts. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into a market you'd probably, never really think about as dynamic: chopstick racks.
Right. Seems pretty simple.
Exactly.
Yep.
But that simple kitchen item, turns out it's a fascinating lens. We can see global consumer trends, urbanization, how our lifestyles are changing fast. So our mission with this deep dive, and we're drawing on a recent market report here, is to really unpack the surprising driver.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Market report here is to really unpack the surprising drivers behind this and the unique challenges, the innovative shifts, all shaping this, seemingly humble industry.
And what's really intriguing, I think, is how something so specific, so niche maybe, can reflect such broad shifts. A primary driver, it's culinary globalization, no question.
Okay.
It's more than just trying new foods, right? The massive popularity of, say, Japanese sushi, Korean BBQ, Chinese hot pot. It's leading to a real cultural adoption. It's pushing chopstick use way, way beyond its traditional Asian roots.
So we're not just talking about using them occasionally at home.
No, no.
Is this hitting high-end dining too? Are restaurants in, London or New York now actually buying these? And not just for utility, but for the look.
Exactly. Yes, it's about the whole presentation. It's about hygiene, obviously, but also reinforcing brand values. You see that especially with the eco-friendly options, bamboo, nice ceramics.
Okay.
And that aesthetic demand, it ties right into another big driver, urban living.
Uh-huh.
Think about cities like Tokyo, Seoul, Shanghai, super dense, right? You've got working families, often in smaller apartments, smaller kitchens.
Right, space is at a premium.
Precisely. So that fuels demand for things that are modular, space efficient, clever kitchen solutions. These racks, they can optimize that limited counter space, make the kitchen look better, more organized. It's perceived value beyond just holding chopsticks.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does something huge like global e-commerce
Yeah.
fit into this tiny market? What's the real impact of Amazon, Alibaba, Rakuten, those kinds of platforms?
Oh, it's transformative, really? Think about the sheer choice they offer. An unparalleled catalog. Minimalist stainless steel, decorative bamboo, ceramic, everything.
Hmm.
And this universal accessibility, it basically creates what they call a long tail market. So even niche brands, maybe someone making handmade racks or sustainable ones,
Hmm.
they can connect directly with customers anywhere in the world. Customers who care about both the function and the style.
Wow, that's a powerful force. But doesn't that raise a question or a challenge? When something becomes so widely available, so many options,
Yeah.
doesn't it risk just becoming a commodity?
It absolutely does, yes. That's a classic challenge here, market commoditization. Despite the growth we're seeing, there's generally low product differentiation, meaning
Hmm.
from a consumer's point of view, one chopstick rack often looks, well, pretty much like another. It does the same basic job, and this leads to what we call low involvement purchases. People just don't spend much time or thought choosing one. Grab and go. So the paradox is, how do you build brand loyalty for an item people barely think about, especially when, unbranded local players can just make something similar and sell it cheaper?
Right. So the pressure's on for premium brands to innovate constantly. And while that culinary globalization is a huge plus, I imagine penetration, actually using chopsticks regularly,
Mm-hmm.
is still pretty limited in many non-Asian households. Is that hurdle?
It is, yeah. That's another challenge. In those regions, North America, Europe, consumers often just prefer an all-purpose utensil holder, something for forks, knives, spoons, everything.
Makes sense.
So it's tougher for a chopstick-specific rack to really gain traction there. Plus, you've got the whole sustainability angle now. Plastic products especially are facing more criticism. That's pushing a big shift.
Okay, which brings us nicely to the emerging trends then.
Mhm.
What are we seeing? How's the market evolving to, tackle these challenges and meet new demands?
Well, the sustainability push is huge, paramount, really. We're seeing a definite shift towards eco-friendly materials. Bamboo is a big winner.
Why bamboo?
It's seen as naturally antibacterial, it looks good, it's renewable, checks a lot of boxes. And often these bamboo racks have clever features too, like being foldable or stackable. Again, thinking about space.
And beyond sustainability?
Multifunctional design, that's another key trend. Newer racks are integrating compartments for other things, spoons, forks, knives, catering to those compact urban kitchens we talked about.
Sort of a hybrid holder?
Exactly. Some even have drainage trays, or they're designed to be wall-mounted to free up counter space completely.
And it's not just about pure function, is it? Aesthetics seem really important now.
Oh, absolutely. Customizable and designer racks are definitely making waves. It shows how much people are investing in their kitchen's look and feel.
So what kind of things?
We're seeing demand for ceramic, different kinds of wood, matte finished metals, even personalized options, for gifts or for high-end restaurants wanting something unique.
Okay, so let's try and pull this together. What does this all mean for you, the listener?
Right, so the global Chopsticks Racks Market. Yes, it faces hurdles, commoditization, competition, sure, but it's clearly on an upward path. The trends we've discussed that shift to eco-friendly stuff like bamboo, the rise of multifunctional designs, the demand for customizable, attractive racks. These aren't just about chopstick holders. They reflect deeper patterns in how we all behave as consumers globally, how we live, how we consume, what we value.
It really is remarkable. So much dynamic evolution packed into something as, well, seemingly simple as a chopstick rack. So for you, the listener, maybe here's a thought to take away. What other everyday objects, things we totally take for granted, are quietly sitting at the center of their own vibrant, evolving global markets? Markets that are reflecting these big shifts in culture, in our environment, and in design. Makes you wonder.
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai